Good morning, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, one of the subjects that always comes up, never seems to get answered, because it can't be, and that is the subject of how genuine is the lady, and I'll keep it to the lady that you are choosing, or the man that you're choosing. So we should really be saying the partner that you're choosing, how genuine they are. And at the extreme end of the Filipino foreigner choice of mixed marriage or mixed partnership, you've got great risks on either side. As I say, at the extreme end, innocent Filipinas have gone to various countries only to find out that they're being treated like slaves, and worse. You know, there have been cases of that they've been killed. So the rape, murder, this is the extreme end of making the wrong choice. And for the man, it also coincidentally can mean the same, because a Filipina can have a boyfriend with evil intent, and they are there in the background. The foreigner comes in, thinks that he has a genuine woman, gets married, commits, and ends up finding out that actually he should have been committed to make such a choice, because he can get killed too. So that's the extreme end, and it doesn't happen that often. But what does happen often is that the Filipina may go to a country that is very low in family values, and this is not something that you can say about any Filipino family. Is they are very much into the family. They're into helping each other, they're into sharing. We've seen how when we took little kids to McDonald's for the first time in their lives, and to a Westerner they say, oh, for God's sake, it's just McDonald's. Well, we know that. But for little kids who've been watching the television for most of their lives and watching these wonderful happy place commercials on television showing how wonderful McDonald's is, and they've never been. So that big experience was something that the kids really enjoyed. But even among that, we could see that without a single exception, every one of those kids took half of his food back home for his family, for perhaps brothers or sisters, moms and dads, and they shared. Out of that whole huge experience, they shared it. That's family values in the Philippines. So as a foreigner coming here, better get used to that idea. You may be coming from a culture that, as far as family goes, are bankrupt. They have long lost the idea of families that stay together and help each other throughout their lives. This is what the Philippines is like. So you still have overseas Filipino workers working abroad, and they work long hours, probably at 2 jobs. And what do they do with that money? They send it home. So, the risks involved in making the wrong choice. Well, one of the accusations, as I was about to get into, one of the accusations about Filipinas is that they're going to take the money of the foreigner, and that's all that they want. Well, let's put that into a different perspective. When I was in America and I was a single dad, I had very little. We lived an extremely simple life then. I was self-employed, doing what I could as a jobbing carpenter back then, because I had a kid that I wanted to be back home for when it came time to go to bed. So that was when I quit my ideas of being a musician. So one of life's ironies, that, isn't it? All my musician's life I dreamed of coming to America to meet some of the great musicians that I'd long admired, And when I finally got the chance to come to America, I sold my trombone to buy the ticket. And when I got out here, I came as a single parent, and I just gave up the idea of working as a musician, because I could have gone out as a singer, which was what I used to do in the UK. But I couldn't handle the idea that someone else would put my kid to bed and I wouldn't be there. So I gave up the idea of the musician thing, and I became a single parent doing jobbing work, as I say, as a carpenter builder. We did okay, but it was tough. Could I find anyone that would take me on as a partner? I didn't really feel that I could. I used to see personals in the personal columns that women who were looking for a partner were actually stipulating how much they expected the man to earn. Is that logic? Well, it's logic if you're in that particular culture, because if you have already gone through for people in their say late 30s, 40s, if there's always a possibility that you may have been widowed, and there's mostly the possibility that you've gone through a divorce. So you've gone through a divorce, which certainly in the US are usually confrontational divorces, where it's a fight to the finish as to who gets what. So it's never been a pleasant experience, and people come out they come out as the walking wounded in a lot of cases. So they're very careful about what they do now to look for a partner, and finance comes into it. So there we are, I think, putting this idea of Filipinas looking at whether a man can support them or can give them security, and whether that's a bad thing. Well, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. For my wife, she had struggled doing 2 jobs, sometimes 3 jobs, and she had worked herself up from being an island girl in Bohol onto a university where she worked damned hard as a working student, and she put herself through college, and she got her master's degree in business administration. Is she going to look for someone who is, say, driving a tricycle? Nothing wrong with driving a tricycle for a living, but is she going to be satisfied with someone who has been satisfied with that? And the answer surely must be no. So even in my own case, though I am hardly a financial catch, she obviously would look at whether, looking at me as this man, she would look at, can this man support me and give me any kind of a secure life? And certainly she and any other Filipina who is doing that cannot be blamed or accused of being mercenary or a gold digger. No matter what you think, it just can't be. Any woman the world over has long been in the thinking, in the mindset of saying, I want a husband who can support a family. So this whole thing of looking at Filipinas as if they are gold diggers simply because they want to have a secure life is just so much garbage in my mind. Now, obviously there are people who are out there who have their agenda. They have their hidden agenda in a lot of cases. We actually had somebody who, on this subject, commented, and his comment, I think I deleted it, his comment was, yeah, well, don't tell them a thing about yourself, bang them and leave them. A real philosopher. Somebody with a great mindset, I think. So, I think I deleted that. Now, that's the kind of thing at the bottom end, and I use the term deliberately. At the bottom end, you have someone who is going to do that. Someone who is going to come into a relationship, and on both sides, they're not going to be truthful about their present situation, whether they have anybody in the wings waiting to join the act, or in fact being a silent partner in the act. And the relationship is never going to be on firm ground. It's going to be building on shifting sands. And so it will never be a success. It never was a success because it was built on deceit. So that was pretty well what Beth's advisory video was about, is that you cannot build a secure relationship on shifting sands. And she gave some good advice on how you can at least find out if you're starting at the beginning for both of you. And it gets back to my own saying is, you should be able to be honest, truthful, loyal. And that seems to be the bare minimum for any relationship. I rest my case. So this is the end of this little video, just talking about that never-ending discussion point about who's doing what and are they telling the truth. And that's the challenge, is to find out. And first of all, of course, you have to be telling the truth, because if you're lying, why on earth would you expect that the other person is not? It doesn't make sense, does it? So this is a foreigner in the Philippines. Good luck on finding the right one.